Hey everyone, happy Sunday evening and welcome into the latest episode of the TDR Traded Black podcast. I am your host, Shad Dales, bringing you the biggest developments yet again in the cannabis industry for the week of January 27th, ending right here on February 2nd. From RFK Jr.'s confirmation hearing in Washington to a major cannabis proposal in Hawaii and the latest on the Senate banking hearing, there's plenty to unpack, so let's dive into it. First up, looks like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is on track to secure confirmation as the head of the HHS. Chalk up another win for the Trump administration. RFK has spoken about rescheduling and descheduling cannabis in the past, but not at this week's hearing. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The HHS has already played its part by recommending reclassification. Now, it's up to the DOJ and DEA to act. While it's great to have another ally behind the scenes, this is still not a done deal. Rescheduling still has some bureaucratic hurdles to clear before we can all be happy with this appointment. Next up, Ohio and its cannabis market might feel like it's getting an unexpected tax hike, as Senate Bill 56 looks to bump the tax rate from 10% to 15%. That extra 5% would flow straight into the state's general fund, supporting everything from road repairs to, who knows, morning coffee at the Capitol. The taxes aren't the only concern. This bill would also, 1, cut the maximum home grow limit from 12 plants to 6. Also, ban social equity programs, effectively sidelining diversity initiatives. In addition, lower THC product caps from 90% to 70%, and would require all cannabis to be transported into a locked trunk. The elimination of Ohio's social equity program is particularly troubling, as it could push out smaller players and solidify big corporations' hold on the industry. Additionally, lawmakers want to cap the state's dispensary count at 350, requiring them to serve both medical and adult use customers. David Bowling, executive director of the Ohio Cannabis Coalition, weighed in, warning lawmakers not to disrupt what's already considered one of the best-run cannabis programs in the country. With recreational sales nearing $300 million since launching last summer, the market's popularity is clear, but since Ohio's legalization law was passed as an initiated statute rather than a constitutional amendment, legislators can tweak at will, so expect ongoing battles. Next up, Virginia, where lawmakers are revisiting adult use cannabis sales, aiming to launch a regulated market by 2026. Senator Aaron Rouse and Delegate Paul Krizik are spearheading the effort, which would allow adults to purchase up to 2.5 ounces with a tax of up to 11.6%. Key provisions include 1. Licensing through the Virginia Cannabis Control Authority. 2. THC limits on products. 3. Restrictions on licensing for individuals with certain felony convictions. And 4. Local opt-out options via referendum. While home cultivation is already legal, the goal is to curb the illicit market. However, Governor Glenn Youngkin vetoed a similar plan before, so whether this attempt succeeds remains to be seen. Let's move now to Kentucky, where its medical program is gaining traction with 2,200 approved cardholders and counting. Meanwhile, 66 applicants were sidelined due to paperwork issues, but will get another shot. Governor Andy Beshear is also pushing Congress to remove Second Amendment restrictions for medical cannabis patients, arguing that they shouldn't have to choose between their medicine and their rights to bear arms. Kentucky's program is small, but growing, and these developments highlight the state's evolving stance on cannabis reform. Let's now move to earnings, and a big one, where Canadian giant High Tide continued its retail dominance, posting revenue of $138.3 million for the quarter, bringing its annualized revenue run rate to over $550 million. The company's Canna Cabana loyalty program now boasts 1.72 million members, up 34% from last year. Same-store sales ticked up 0.4% year over year. Free cash flow hit $5.9 million for Q4, contributing to $22 million in positive free cash flow over the trailing 4 quarters. Despite holding just 5% of cannabis store locations in Alberta and Ontario, High Tide commands 11% of overall sales across 5 provinces. Meanwhile, their analytics platform, Kaba Analytics, brought in $36.7 million, up 34% from 2023. With strong cash flow reserves and disciplined cost management, High Tide looks well positioned for continued growth. Let's now move west, where C21 Investments posted an impressive 5.3% revenue jump for this quarter, hitting $7.9 million, despite Nevada's broader market cooling off as well. Gross margins increased 46%, signaling strong operational efficiency. Income from operations surged 219% quarter over quarter to $1 million. Free cash flow skyrocketed as well to 61%, reaching $1.6 million. And to top it off, C21 announced a share buyback program, signaling confidence in its valuation. While many cannabis companies struggle to stay afloat, C21 is proving that strategic pivots can keep the lights on and then some. Well done. Now moving even further west, and I mean real far west, where Hawaii is making waves with a 311-page bill aimed at fully legalizing regulated cannabis. Sponsored by Republican David Tarnas and Senator Joy San Buenaventura, the proposal would 1. Allow adults 21 and older to possess up to 1 ounce of marijuana and 5 grams of concentrate. 2. Permit home cultivation of up to 6 plants per person, 10 per household. 3. Establish the Hawaii Cannabis and Hemp offices to oversee regulation. And 4. Impose a 14% tax on adult use sales. This bill dedicates 30% of state cannabis revenue to social equity grants, with additional funding for public health, education, and law enforcement. After last year's legalization attempt collapsed in the House, lawmakers are hoping for stronger support from Governor Josh Green and will get it across the line. If it passes, Hawaii could become a major cannabis tourism hotspot. And finally, we move south to Florida, where its cannabis debate is heating up once again, with Senator Joe Gruters introducing SB 334 to allow medical marijuana patients to grow up to 2 plants at home, provided they stay locked away from public view. This bill also proposes strict new hemp regulations, including 1, a 2 milligram THC cap per serving, bans on Delta-8 and THCA, prohibitions on child-friendly packaging and flashing marketing. Governor Ron DeSantis vetoed similar hemp restrictions last year, but lawmakers are pushing again. If passed, the bill would create a clear framework for Florida's cannabis and hemp markets, but with potentially restrictive consequences for certain products and businesses. So that's it, everyone. Another busy week, but why wouldn't it be? It's the cannabis industry. With RFK Jr. likely being appointed the head of the HHS, chalk up another win for the Trump administration, and hopefully for the psychedelic and cannabis industries. Next up, this week's Senate banking hearing, as all eyes now switch to Senator Tim Scott, someone who really is the wild card in all this when it comes to safe banking. Let's face it, this industry is at a pivotal moment. Let us know what you think of the overall space. Are you optimistic? Are you frustrated with the price action? Still unsure on what to happen next? Leave your comments below. We'd love to hear from you. As well, smash that bell for all notifications to get the latest updates from all of us here at the TDR Trade to Black podcast. One last thing, make sure to scan this QR code if you haven't done so already and subscribe to our Baked In newsletter delivered to your inbox at 8 a.m. Eastern Time to get all the latest information on the biggest developments happening in the cannabis space. Next up, big one coming up tomorrow at 4 o'clock on our latest Trade to Black podcast as we welcome in the new president of Air Wellness and get a better idea as what to expect from this company moving forward in 2025. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everyone. I'm your host, Shad Dales. Thanks again, everyone, for watching.